as a rapper. My jersey up too high in the rafters. I got a front team, new life and a tractor. Still sipping that moonshine and a plaster.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Moonlighters Club. I'm your host, Joel Edwards, and we have a Moonlighters first. Idaho's in the house for the first time. I'm happy.
What up?
Everybody meet Ben. What's up? What's going on, Ben?
How's it going, man? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm glad that you could do the show. I saw your story I actually read about your story. I looked, if I'm not mistaken, because I get these things from different sources, but I was hashtag searching, and I wanted to go state by state by state by state. So just like hashtagging small business and things like that, because I just want to see what, the Moonlighters theme and small business theme. I want to see what it's like in other places. I don't want to just be a East Coast thing. So
sure,
I found Ben and what he does, and I like. Everyone talks about disruption, but I do like new businesses finding new ways of doing things that I enjoy, and your product is one of those. And we're going to talk about it just to make sure I pronounce it right. Is it Karuna Kava?
That's correct. Yep, that's right.
Kava. All right, everyone, we're going to talk about that in full detail. I think it's great. I just tried some. I think it's awesome, and we'll start here. Are you born and raised Idaho?
I was not, man. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I was going to ever live in Idaho, I would have been like, no way, dude. That's not possible.
Where are you from?
So I grew up in the armpit of Indiana, Terre Haute, which is lovingly referred to as not the nicest town in Indiana, which is not of the nicest states. But I had a good time growing up in Indiana. Yeah. Grew up in a cornfield, kind of. Yeah. But didn't find out about Kava until I actually moved to Colorado after college. I went to Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. Big party school, sort of.
Nice.
It's where part of my path to finding Kava started was drinking a lot of cheap, beer and vodka in school. But took some business classes in college. Didn't get super down the business path. Ended up getting a bachelor's degree in public and environmental affairs.
How'd you even choose that as a major?
Well, honestly, I was a bit of like a hippie at the time. Okay. And I really liked taking these environmental courses, and they just happened to be extremely easy. So I knew that I could graduate. I wasn't the best student in my college years, so I took some public policy courses and some environmental courses, and I was like, well, this at least sort of interests me. So yeah, that's what I ended up sticking with, and I learned a lot in college. Mostly that I had some real self work to do before I was going to be the person I wanted to be, but it was a great experience overall.
The concept of college is crazy because like you 18 and 21, right? You always hear 18 is the age where you're an adult, but you're literally just throwing a bunch of like 18-year-olds in this like crazy thing. You're like, figure it out. So you have all these people who have no idea who they are, what they're trying to do. There's like plenty of options out there, but there's guidance, but it's not like high school. People aren't chasing you down and fall. So you're literally kind of just trying to see what sticks. It's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, I've said this a few times, but I wish that people approached me about business loans the way that they approached me about college loans, because they like weren't gonna let me leave that room until I signed that paper and got that money, But you go to start a small business, it's they're like, well, what? Give me your last 5 years of sales data. It's like, well, crap.
We talk about that all the time on this podcast. How it is so hard to get money. Like my wife and I bought a house, and it took there was thousands of papers I felt like I had to sign. But for school loans, you're like, yo, can I get like $200,000? Like, yes, absolutely. And then you just walk in and get your money. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
So you leave, you graduate. Did you go to Colorado immediately after?
No, man. No. My mom had moved to Florida.
Okay.
And I sort of left school with my tail between my legs. I been drinking real heavily and was not doing super well. And went home to live with my mom down in Florida at her new place. I lived down there for like 7 months and ended up going to rehab while I was down in Florida. And just sort of was in this weird limbo of like, what am I doing with my life? Like I've got no path. I got no direction. I've got this drinking problem that's causing me, kind of a lot of pain and trouble. And then I felt like a burden, because I'm like living with my mom and, I don't have a girlfriend. It's like, it was just not a fun period of my life. And then after 7 months of doing that and working at this terrible job, I was in pest control in Southwest Florida, which is not a fun gig. So I just sort of kind of stupidly with about $800 to my name, not enough money to get like an apartment or anything. I moved in with a buddy in Colorado Springs who I used to snowboard with and slept on his floor. And that's how I got my start in Colorado.
Wow. Oh, man. That's why it takes a lot of courage to, like, the rehab process with alcohol, man. Alcohol is such a tricky subject. Like, I'm 38 now, and I don't drink anywhere near it like I used to. But it's since it's so socially accepted, like, everyone, including myself, is like, oh, no, I don't have a problem. Like, I still go to work and stuff. And it's like, I feel like we're all wavering around the gray lines if we don't have to do this as much as we currently do this. So sure. It's like, most people out here don't even know or would never think, oh, this isn't a problem at all. I can have 2 beers, 3 beers every night or whatever, my little brandy all the time.
Yeah. And I mean, some people can, some people don't have a hard time with it. And some people can have a beer once a week, For me, what happens to me is like, I'll end up, like, if I start drinking, I'm just going to want more.
Yeah.
That's just the way it's always been. I was introduced to alcohol at a very tender age and during a rough point in my childhood. It immediately became like a best friend style, crutch that I was using. And so it just was something that it's hard for me to control. And I think a lot of Americans right now, especially because everyone's super stressed out.
Yeah.
People are like people that had been casual drinkers before the pandemic, all of a sudden found themselves at home with nothing to do. And, the liquor store is open, but the AA meeting was closed,
Right.
So I think a lot of people started drinking a lot more than they would have wanted to or normally would.
Yeah, my friends and I talk about this a lot with COVID. It kind of just made it so much harder. And the thing for me is mine was always youth binge drinking. So like going out on Fridays and Saturdays and drinking way more than I needed to. There was a bar called Brothers, a chain. And
I know Brothers. There was one in Bloomington. Yeah. Dude, I got kicked out of that bar a couple times.
Brothers had a deal on Thursdays where it was $5. Yes, you know exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I know
the deal. On Tuesdays they had like $2 tequilas. On Wednesdays they had a deal on like I knew every day, dude. It was like the calendar. Yeah. That's how I knew what day of the week it was.
Brothers was awful. Like for $5, you could drink all the everything, anything on draft. It was like Miller Lite, $5, all you can drink literally the entire night. Mm-hmm. And it's at this point, I don't do that anymore. But because, like you said, of wanting more, I associate social gatherings, like raucous social gatherings, with alcohol. You know what I mean? Like football games. And it's because it was conditioned. I did it so much when I was in my early 20s that if I go to a concert, if I go to a basketball game, a football game, it's in your head. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, I got to have this to compliment me while I'm out here having a good time and doing whatever. And that's because that's all we were doing every single weekend. It was nuts, So
it's also what our entire society kind of tells you that you do at that kind of stuff. It's that suit. I love it. It's a clip from South Park where it's like an alcohol ad and it's like girls that are like all chesty, like in bikinis, and like a sexy dude on a Ferrari, driving a Ferrari. And it's like, and then it's like alcohol sprinkled in there, you know, and then at the end they're like, please drink responsibly. And I think that's so funny because it is. I mean, we were watching a movie the other night, and in like every scene, the guy is pouring a scotch or pouring like people are drinking. Like, I don't know how this movie got made. The guy must have been plastered, you know, if he was actually drinking. But and again, I think it's because a lot of people, whether they do it consciously or not, when we're drinking, we're reaching for something. You know, it's that Buddhist concept of grasping. Yeah. You know, and I mean, I personally, and this is because I've had, you know, a community in recovery, and we sort of have created our own community of people with Kava that don't necessarily drink as much. That pattern can spiral so quick to where all of a sudden, like what was totally fine, you know, maybe drinking a craft pack of, you know, 6 tall boys a week, all of a sudden you're drinking 6 a day. Yep. You know, and then all of a sudden, if you don't drink, then you feel like crap and you don't feel good again, because that's the other thing. You withdraw from Kava or from alcohol about 45 minutes after your last drink. So even when you're in like a bar setting, that's sort of what's driving that, like, let's get another round. Let's get another round. Like there's a mechanism there that's sort of telling you that you want more. Yeah. And that's why Kava's cool, because you don't have that at all.
Nice. So let's do it. Let's talk about the future, bro. So you're in Colorado. You move with your friend. Do you rethink? You said you did some soul searching when you were in Florida. At this point, where you kind of you did the past job, where you're like, all right, like what do I really, really want to do? Was it still what you went to school for to kind of kick things off, or did you float a few things out?
Oh no, man, no shit. Immediately hit the fan. My buddy robbed me because he was a heroin addict. Wow. And I found myself with no money. And then 6 days after I got there, he told me that him and his girlfriend, who I was living with, were going to get evicted. Wow. So like all of a sudden I had no money and I had no place to go either. And, but in the meantime, I had applied to work at Red Robin's, like slinging cheeseburgers as a waiter.
Oh yeah.
And I hadn't really stopped drinking yet. I was still drinking. So I got myself into a sober living house. And that's really when my desire to become a better person, or like to become, because before I was just sort of so lost that I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I didn't know. You know, I didn't know who I was, because my whole identity was sort of wrapped up in, you know, being this drunk vagabond college kid. And I had never really done any of the hard work to, you know, get through some of the traumas of the past, or to address some of my own mental health issues that had sort of just been bubbling beneath the surface. Because alcohol also, surprise, surprise, can really exacerbate certain mental health issues. So I got into a sober living house in Colorado Springs, and really started chugging along on that path of just like traditional 12-step recovery. Yeah. And ended up being the manager of that sober living house. Nice. And while I was at that sober living house, I sort of stumbled on Kava. Okay. Kind of, yeah, almost on accident. It's a funny story. I got in a kind of a fight with this kid, not like a fist fight, but like an argument at the sober living house, because this dude was drinking this stuff called Kava. Okay. And it was like made from these roots of this plant from the South Pacific Island. I'm like, man, it sounds like you're getting fucked up. And I was like, we can't have that in the sober living house. And he sort of talked to me more about it and sort of explained, and I got kind of curious. So, yeah, that's when I decided to check it out.
All right. See, this is why we definitely have to have more conversations. We have like similar journeys, like moving around and finding things. And This is why I believe in some sort of energy. Like, I don't care if it's divine. Like, for me, it's religion. It could be energy. It could be karma, physics.
Yeah.
I do feel like there's something out here who just like pushes you to do something, and you're like, what? And then it has an impact on you for the rest of your life. Like, there's got to be some, because that's just a crazy coincidence. It's just so
crazy coincidence.
Yeah, Kava. Mm-hmm. And was this something that was already like being sold in Colorado? Is there already a market for it? Or? Okay.
Yeah, man. That's so I go to this Kava bar. I was actually at sort of a rough point of my path, because I was completely sober, but I was having a real hard time with something at the time. I even forget what it was. Like I wanted to drink real bad, and and I thought that this Kava stuff was sort of like maybe a good go between. And so I walked in to this bar, and I actually thought they sold liquor too, because I was gonna I told myself in my head, I'm going to go there for Kava, but when I get there, I'll probably have some liquor, because it's a bar, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't have any booze at all. It was a Kava bar in Colorado Springs called Ohana Kava Bar. And yeah, man, I drank some Kava at the bar, and it was gnarly, dude. It tasted like paint thinner. It was this really crazy Kava extract. But I felt like this immediate, this relief, but I still was sharp, and I still was lucid, and I was still myself. And I actually was not looking forward to having any more, because it didn't taste very good. And so immediately a few things happened. I got really interested in things that were not alcohol, that had an effect on your mind and body, that could be less destructive or non-destructive.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to work there. I wanted to get a job at that Kava bar.
Nice.
So I did. Yeah.
Nice. So, who was it, like a chain or just like mom and pop?
It is now. Yeah.
Wow.
So this guy in Colorado Springs, shout out Matt at Ohana Kava Bar, really cool guy. He opened a Kava bar in the Springs, and it really bloomed into this really cool community of people that drink Kava. And his Kava bars are great. They're really cool. He's got a few of them now in the Springs, but the way he does Kava and the way we do Kava is pretty different. We make it from mostly. We don't use any extracts or concentrates. We pretty much only use really high quality single cultivar noble Kava roots that have been grown for 5 or more years. And it's sort of it's just a ethos that we have, just using the raw kind of deal to make Kava. And that's when you get the more earthy sort of flavor. But it also brings out more, in my opinion, complex kavalactones. So you get a more enjoyable effect, I find. But yeah, that's sort of where I learned the ropes about, what Kava was, how you made it, why people drank it. And yeah, it was a good introduction.
How long until you wanted to do it for yourself?
I worked there for a little over a year. Ended up in sort of a manager-ish position. And started brewing Kava at home with other root that I was finding myself in the marketplace. And I was sort of having a different experience in my home sessions than I was at the Kava bar. The Kava I was making, I was trying to figure out how to make it taste good and be a little more enjoyable. And I was also getting experience with these really crazy high quality older Kava roots that I hadn't had before. And I was really blown away by what I could make in my little kitchen. And then as soon as I started thinking about it, my brain just sort of went, whoa, man, you could probably do this. Like you could, not to like saying I wanted to rip off my boss. In fact, I moved states so that I wouldn't, step on anybody's toes.
Yeah.
But immediately I started thinking, I could do this professionally, and have it be, different than what is happening here in the Springs, but, my own, kind of unique. And that's when I first started working on a business plan, was like in January 2019.
Nice.
Like right on New Year's. I remember I drove up to the Root Kava bar in Boulder. My head was just spinning with all these different ideas, and I had some buddies at the Root, and I was just spitballing with the guy that is one of the owners at the Root, and he's like, "Man, you should do this," and gave me some good guidance, and it's just been, balls to the wall since then, so to speak.
What exactly is Kava, and where did you come up with the name for the Kava?
Yeah, Kava. What is Kava? That's a great question. Kava, and I'm shaking it up if you hear it on there. We're going to drink a little bit if you want to pour a little out. So for approximately the last 3,000 years, people in the South Pacific Islands have been brewing and enjoying a beverage called Kava or Yankona or Awa, depending on what island you're on.
Nice.
Bula is a Fijian term for life that you normally say with people before you drink bula. It's a drink made from the roots of the Kava plant, or Piper methysticum. Kava is in the pepper family of plants. Actually, its scientific name means the intoxicating pepper, which was one of its early names. But the roots of the Kava plant are full, as well as other parts of the stem, are full of cavalactones. Cavalactones, like methysticin, cavein, dihydrocavein, desmethoxyangonin, dihydromethysticin. These are all compounds that calm your amygdala, stimulate certain GABA receptors, and act as physical muscle relaxants. So when you drink Kava, you feel euphoric, cheerful, chatty, kind of socially lubricated, but also relaxed physically, and very calm. It's an anxiolytic, so it makes you feel stress and anxiety free. But it also has properties that sort of tend to put you in a bit of a flow state, like you're very present and mindful, but also relaxed and calm. So people use Kava for my use, which is like a non-destructive alternative to booze. But people use Kava for a lot of reasons because of that very complex range of cavalactones found in the root. So people use it for sleep. It's been shown to greatly increase your brain's capacity for REM sleep. General relaxation for people that are tense because of its muscle relaxant properties. Guys in the NFL drink Kava because it helps them after hard workouts, because your lactic acid buildup can be purged more easily when you're relaxed. And also you don't get hungover, which is going to mess you up in practice the next day, which is why like a lot of athletes are really coming on board with drinking Kava because it has some good properties there. Meditation and flow state achievable, really good for that. Stress and anxiety without creating a cycle of dependency and withdrawal. Most people that take Xanax have to take more and more and more all the time, and then you can't leave the house without taking your Xanax, because I'm going to preface this by saying I am not a doctor. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. But, benzodiazepines and stuff like that can cause dependency issues and tolerance development issues, which can, in the long term, be detrimental to actually treating anxiety. So Kava, you don't develop a tolerance to it. Actually, the opposite happens. It's adaptogenic. So the more often you drink it, the more you feel it, and the less you need to feel it as strongly. So it's like the opposite, and you don't become physically dependent on it. So you don't get sick if you don't have it. You don't have whiplash anxiety if you don't drink Kava. So it's pretty non-destructive. I mean, from an addiction standpoint, it's less addictive than coffee, because coffee technically causes withdrawal.
Coffee's the worst, right? Like, as someone who drinks coffee every single day, like,
I love it. It's great.
It's hooked in. It's like, I can't get away from it. But
it's good. But so yeah, in a nutshell, that's sort of what Kava is. It's like a non-destructive recreational beverage. Makes you feel happy and relaxed. And it's got some other health benefits too, like keeping you sharp brain health wise. It's good for memory. But it's also a lifestyle.
Where's Karuna Kava come from? Is that
Yeah. So Karuna, I found a lot of comfort and knowledge in Buddhist teachings when I was getting sober the first time. And actually got a bunch of like Buddhist
nice.
Work on my arms. But whenever I was trying to figure out like what our mission was, like as a company, I was like, well, we want to create like compassionate social beverages. And then I was reading this book from the Dalai Lama, and this word popped up, Karuna, and it was like it's a word for compassion, or like the offering of compassion to another. And I was like, Karuna Kava, that sounds really kind of cool. And I like the meaning behind it. And so yeah, I liked it. I stuck with it, and it does have a very different cultural background than Kava itself. But that's sort of where that's kind of encompasses like one of my worldviews, that we live in such an interconnected world now. I like to draw from different cultures, and I mean, we believe in appreciation, not appropriation. So, I like to sort of bring an understanding of different cultural ideas and even religious ideas like compassion, because it is, an ideology to try and be compassionate as yourself, as a human. And without the compassion of others, I never would have discovered Kava. So it seemed like a good fit.
We have all these medicines. We have all these concoctions. We have all these things. The way we live our lives, especially in the U.S., is about, look, this is the way we're supposed to live. You hustle, you get after it, you go. You have, this, if you're stressed, drink a beer, boom, boom, boom. This is how you have to act if you want to get ahead in life. And then you start hearing, I traveled a little bit. You don't have to travel to do this. You can just kind of read and, even go on YouTube. But I start hearing that there are people who do things differently, who live differently, who don't have stress as an everyday part of their life. I start learning that, no, there are alternatives to eating Percocets and things of that nature. There's other things out here that people were using hundreds of years ago. Like, they're just different ways of doing things. And appreciating that can add a lot of value to your life. I mean, one of the traveling it helped it for me. I mean, I grew up on the East Coast, so it's pretty much you just run around until you drop dead. And it's always about just feeling like you have somewhere to be. You got to be heard. There's so many people out here. If my idea has to come across, I have to be louder than everyone, or more sly than everyone, or more ruthless than everyone. If I got to go somewhere, we got to get out there and get after it. Can't be late. And traveling to places like Vietnam, I was fortunate enough to go to Cuba a while back, or just Kenya, anywhere, where I'm just meeting people and they just don't have any of that on their brain. It's unnecessary. Like, we don't have to do all that. everyone's not cracking a 6-pack at the end of the day, or just pissed off and so stressed that all you're thinking about at 4 o'clock is, I can't wait to have a beer right now. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I've done all of that, but you realize it doesn't have to be this way. We can get to the solutions we're trying to get in life, or even rethink those solutions by just learning more and seeing more. So, hate to go on that random thing of mine, but
totally right. I mean, absolutely right. And I think other cultures have a different way of kind of viewing their time too. I mean, I noticed this in Costa Rica, and I hate to say this because it's cliche and not everyone can do it, because it does take, disposable income that a lot of people don't have right now.
Right.
But traveling really is one of the best ways to sort of develop yourself, and expand your viewpoints and your ignorant. I feel like would be less ignorant, and I don't say that in any connotation at all, but just in the meaning of like not having knowledge, being unknowledgeable about certain cultures. Like sometimes because I've never been to Southeast Asia, always wanted to go, but yeah, I could use even just some insights from that culture. But in Costa Rica, everything is sort of slowed down, and it's not a stress to order a cheeseburger. It's not going to come in 20 minutes. Like you might have to wait an hour for a cheeseburger, but like maybe you could talk to a loved one during that hour. Like you could go check the surf while the burger is working. Like they just have a different way of viewing time. And, I could probably take some notes from that, kind of thinking, because these days I'm kind of hustling all the time. But
how'd that work out timeline wise? You had your business plan, you were set to go. Was Idaho already up in the air? How did you know, okay, I want to sell this, I may have to go somewhere else to do that?
Yeah. That was actually kind of a bumpy journey in and of itself, because I had just had a baby. I was, 25, had a baby with a girl that, very nice young woman. And, when the baby was born, in January, that's when I really was like, had developed the business plan, and I knew that I was going to do this thing, but I was still thinking in the beginning that I would do it in Colorado.
Okay.
Just maybe in a different city or on the other side of the town. And I had got some investors, and that fell through pretty aggressively. When I actually came forward to my boss, because I really respected the guy. He had been a really good employer and helped me out, personally, a few different times. And I didn't want to like be doing all this stuff behind his back. So
right.
I just sort of, let him know that I was going to be leaving, and he needed to find a new manager. And when I did that, my investors were very upset with me, and they pulled, because there was a personal grudge there that I wasn't entirely aware of at the time. So
like a grudge with him and them, or?
But they had wanted me to sort of not tell him, and just to sort of screw him over. And that, the guy gave us a car so that my baby mama could get from place to place. Like, it didn't seem like a good way to conduct business. And I from the beginning, I had set out with, even it's laid into our business plan to treat others with respect, and there is a competitive side to business, and you have to be competitive. But I think where we've sort of gone astray is like, we think that it's either me or them. Yeah. But like realistically, two competing businesses can actually work with one another, to help, raise more overall revenue than could have been possible if we just, because now I'm selling Kava to a lot of these Kava bars. So that happened, and I had actually already put in my notice at the Kava bar. So I was sort of in this not great position, which is I had lost this really good job at the Kava bar that I loved, to start my own thing, but all of a sudden I didn't have the money anymore.
Yeah.
So that's when I went back to freaking Red Robin, and started selling burgers again. And shout out to the Dirty Bird. They, I got a job at Red Robin, and then they said that I could transfer to Idaho,
Okay.
Boise, because that was when I started looking for other cities to do it in. And Boise really stood out to me because they didn't have a Kava bar yet.
Yep.
And Joe Rogan had this guy on his podcast who was from Boise. And he had said what a cool town it was. And I thought it might be a good fit. And it's been a real journey, man. So we ended up packing up all of our stuff and moving to Boise. Before, I'd never even been here. We just picked out an apartment online and off we went.
So went after it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to? How are you liking it? How are you liking the town?
Oh yeah, I love it now. I mean, it's terrible. Don't move here, but it's great. It's very mountainous in a lot of areas, so there's like that outdoor connection that I really need and thirst for, because nature is definitely where I find that sort of divine guidance and peace and tranquility and some of the stuff that I need to be the person I want to be. But there's also a really cool city here too, and there's a lot of growth here. I mean, it's one of the fastest growing cities in the nation. It's also a pretty big drinking town. So I correctly thought that there could be a real need for some Kava around here. And we moved here in June of 2019 and kind of just hit the ground running, man.
How long did it take you to get from getting the business plan done to, when you got there, did you already have like your Kava ready for sale, or did it take a little bit more time?
Oh, dude, it was such a learning process. I immediately started at some local farmers markets, just like selling it in a bottle. And in the beginning, I was even making it in my kitchen. Shh, don't tell anybody. But then we got into a commercial kitchen, and trying to organize the kitchen times with the the market time so that the Kava would be fresh and still good, and because it all needs to be refrigerated. So and in the beginning I wasn't doing what I do now, so the Kava went bad pretty quick, but we figured out how to extend the shelf life. So in the beginning, man, it was kind of limited. I was trying to sell it to pretty much anybody, but it was slow to take off, for sure. I mean, we're still like just at the point where it's starting to be sort of self-sufficient in terms of like me being able to do it full time.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I was waiting tables at a couple different places and hustling at the farmers markets and different events, EDM shows, silent discos, pretty much anywhere they would let me set up a tent.
Nice, man. This seems to me like a cooler version of CBD. Like it's just so much better. I like it.
Definitely. You starting to feel it a little bit?
Yeah. It's it's just chill.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were doing it, man. You're grinding. Was it all gradual in terms of things picking up steam? Just another person here, or were there specific moments you remember were like, oh crap, we're catching steam now?
Man, yeah. I mean, it was real slow to pick up. It was definitely more of a side gig for the first like year and a half.
Okay.
And then back in I guess it would have been all the way back in April now. That's sort of when I went after it full time. I lost my job waiting tables. because I just wasn't being a very good employee, to be honest. I was very focused on the Kava thing. And my wife was pregnant with our second kiddo. And
you get that a lot on this podcast. There's a lot of good people, bad employees, because there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, once I had discovered the path to what I know is my destiny, it was very difficult to put energy into someone else's pot, you know? And I sort of feel like a lot of workers in the economy have sort of discovered that recently. But, yeah, man, whenever it was real slow going until I started doing it full time. And then whenever I started to focus on increasing the shelf life, without sacrificing flavor and effect, that's when it sort of started to get a little weird. Because all of a sudden, like, we were getting some acclaim in the Kava world, because while there's no Kava here in Boise, it's big. Like in Florida, it's huge. There's over 100 Kava bars in Florida.
Wow.
It's big in North Carolina. It's big in Austin, Texas. It's big in California. It's real big in, you know, there's a lot of people that drink Kava in Oregon. But my approach has always been to try to sell Kava to people that don't drink Kava.
Yeah.
Because most people can't make it past the flavor. Most people immediately are like, ugh. And because a lot of the times people are exposed to not so great Kava, they're like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I drinking this dirt water or whatever? But when we started out, you know, we're focusing on making really effective, strong Kavas that people can feel, and that also taste better and are easier to drink. More
Isn't that
accessible.
funny that people hate the taste, but I'm like, you drink vodka. Like,
Right.
alcohol doesn't really.
Yeah, no, for
Alcohol's
sure. And
gross.
I mean, a lot of the vodka that people drink too is like, you know, cheaper than the plastic bottle that it came in. And I just think it's funny that people will sort of accept that awful flavor to get loaded, but when it comes to you know, to something natural, they're just not about it at all. But we've had a lot of success in terms of like getting people to sort of break through to the experience and to be a little more open-minded to it.
Well, to everyone listening, I've tried it for the first time ever. I got my packs right here. Got my relaxed Chai Damu, right? Shook it up, tried some. I could feel it. I started a little before we started this. We're like 45 minutes in. It's nice. It's like I need for different reasons. For like hard alcohol, I'm cutting way down on just because I don't want to die. And beer, it's just a calorie thing. Like I gotta be really conscious of that, because the thing about outside of just, you know, the effects of alcohol on your body, the thing about beer, man, is like the whole beer belly thing isn't the beer. It's just the fact that you're going to consume those calories and you're going to keep eating. And generally the stuff you're eating is not good. So I definitely need something that could be an alternative. And this is pretty cool.
I mean, Kava is an appetite suppressant. So some people will get the Kava munchies. Kava affects people very differently from person to person. Just because of different metabolisms and different, you know, we all have different bodies. So, but I really find that Kava doesn't make me hungry. I will get the Kava chills. A lot of people get kind of chilly or cold whenever they drink Kava.
Really? Okay.
But mostly I just get real chilled out and relaxed, and, you know, I can get a little more talkative, and, it makes, my wife says it takes your shoulders away from your ears, you know, like, you said,
I like that.
you know? And that's very true, you know, and, it's nice because you can drink a lot of Kava. You could drink all the Kava I sent you, and it's not going to mess you up. You'll get pretty rooted, or like crab-eyed, as we like to say. but you'll still be like aware of your decisions, and you're not going to lose your memory.
Yeah.
You're not going to wake up super, super hungover tomorrow. Actually, you'll probably sleep great and then wake up feeling great because Kava doesn't really have a hangover unless you're drinking like some of the 2-day or non-noble varieties of Kava, which we don't sell.
Now that you are you full-time on Kava now? Karuna Kava now?
Yeah, now I am, man. I've been hitting it hard. I mean, because I do all of our own graphic design and all of our product. I mean, we're kind of a one-man army over here, but my wife helps a lot with like production and labeling and stuff like that. But I built a website, and then after I built the website, we switched to these cool pouches from the glass jars. These, we pasteurize them, and then the Kava has a much longer shelf life. And then we started shipping from the site, and in the beginning that was very slow. It was hard to ship. It was hard to produce enough to ship at the time, but I've really spent the last 6 months really updating our brewing techniques and scaling up and figuring out the shipping, and we've had a real uptick. I mean, we're up from month to month. We're up over 125% from last month. This month.
Nice.
So
congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it feels good. And I mean, because of all that effort and just kind of grinding, on social media and events and in-person events, we got our funding a couple months ago for our Kava bar.
Nice.
So now we're going to move forward with opening our own location, because right now I brew everything in a friend's commercial kitchen.
Okay.
And store it there. But when we open up our own space, we can, really have a good Kava community that can come there daily and get Kava. But we can also use that as like a hub to expand our current production, because when I started, I was not trying to make a beverage company at all.
Yeah.
I wanted to make Kava for these farmers markets, and that's kind of silly, but I thought I would meet an investor that way. Like I would just talk someone into giving me enough money to start a Kava bar. And in the kind of by accident along the way, I ended up creating one of the world's first ready to drink traditional style Kava companies. And that is really where I think we're gonna find most of our success, because of the quality and the sourcing that goes into our Kava, it's pretty unparalleled.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll take the Pepsi challenge with pretty much anybody else's Kava any day. And we bring that experience to your living room. You don't have to live in a city where there's a Kava bar. You can just go to our website, and actually our pricing too. We charge less per fluid ounce than most Kava bars do. So, cheaper, higher quality usually gives you a bit of a competitive edge.
Nice. Well, I like the way I mean, there's this TED talk I feel like every one of my professors made me watch was about Simon Sinek and the why, the why to your business, and talking about Apple and all that. But this rings true here. I feel like you were trying to find alternatives for something, and you wanted to build a community, and it's cool because you found a community. You're building a community that can support probably 3 or 4 other styles of communities. I mean, there's people who want to drink less. There's people who just want to meet people. You already have these Kava brewers who are looking for other ways of selling. It's pretty cool. You kind of bring people together in this random way. It seems to be working really well for you, and you earned it. I just hearing everything you've gone through, congratulations. And it's inspiring to hear, everything you've went through and gone through, and And the worst thing I think I see with business owners is when it either makes them jaded or just angry. So you get these 50 somethings who are just mad. I had to do this, and you're like, I get it. Life can get hard.
Yeah.
But
oh, dude, I've been there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been angry. Like I've been packing up my tent after selling, $40 worth of Kava and paying $40 to be at the event and like not making any money and just having people, spit my Kava out on the ground or make these exaggerated faces about how disgusting it is. And I've had to, roll with those punches. But I think a lot of people become jaded or bitter because at a certain point, you stop running the business and the business starts running you, and like all of a sudden it's not necessarily this fun thing that you're doing. It starts to feel like a chain around your ankle. But you just have to figure out how to keep that passion and that fire going. And I mean, and that's why I think it's good to work at jobs that you don't like,
right?
Because then you can always take that experience and look back at it. And now, like, if I'm in a rush and I've got to brew, 20 gallons of Kava and I've got to get it done so fast, or because, the kids have to be somewhere or whatever, I just take a moment, try to remind myself I could be bringing somebody a Mad Love burger at Red Robin right now. And no hate to people that are doing that right now, but that was not my calling in life. And to find that calling and to chase it down definitely feels good.
Well, this is a pleasure. This was Ben. This was awesome. I learned a lot, and it's cool to see. I'm so happy for you. Now there's big things on the horizon. Now we gotta go to Idaho. I gotta get to your bar, man, when it opens up.
Well, maybe not. I mean, that's sort of part of the plan now is to open Kava bars across the U.S.
Nice.
Through a franchise style model, promote from within franchise model, so that other people can own Karuna Kavas and create their own communities.
I'm looking in DC. All the comments, can't find Kava. There's like 2 places. Can't find Kava. There you go. Boom. They're begging for it.
Sounds like a good spot, man.
Yeah. But I hope you it's one thing I noticed is that one of the best things I heard one of our guests say was celebrate the small wins. So I hope you do take time to just think about this journey you've been on, man. It's a lot. And you did it. Like, you powered through and you got something going here, and it's all just great. So again, I take my hat off to you, and I hope this. If there's anything we can do to help you be successful, I'm going to do it. And I really see the sky's the limit for you. So again, this is cool. This is really cool.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. We're definitely making it happen.
For everyone listening, where can they find Kava? How else can they support you? What channels do you want to advertise right now?
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram at Karuna Kava. We also have a page on Facebook that you can check out. Our website is really easy to use, karunakava.com, and use code word ROOTED, ROOTED, for a discount. Support us that way. If you happen to know people in the world of CBD or Kava bars, or you feel like you know a shop that could do really well selling Kava, hit us up. We really like to develop more wholesale partners and get our product into more places. So, besides that, I mean, if you're out there and you're struggling with booze and you're, wanting a different way of life, feel free to reach out to me, personally, either through our Instagram or through our Facebook, and I'll see if we can help you out, because that's like really the passion behind this whole thing is, I've got something that I think can help and already has helped a lot of people. And people just don't know. People don't know that there's a different thing that's fun, that's enjoyable, and acts as a good alternative. So that's our real goal, is to sort of find those people and to offer them the same much less painful path and non-destructive path that I try to walk these days. Because now, I've got 2 kids, married. We have our own home here in Idaho. I've got a car, and these were all things that in my mind were impossibilities when I was, sharing a room with a dude, in the sober living house, with a couple dollars, people had to buy me coffee. And one thing I will say, if you're sort of pursuing an entrepreneurial pursuit like this, and you launched 2 weeks ago and it's not working out necessarily, learn, take those opportunities, learn, figure out how to use your time more effectively, learn, just like, don't give up immediately, and don't be afraid to keep a gig going while you're starting up. I mean, I definitely couldn't have started this, as my sole job. Whenever I started it, I had to have these other gigs. But if there's value to it, find out where that value is and try and spread it.
Well, Ben, this has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I again, the Kava, I got some in the fridge. First pack's already almost gone. It's nice. Less beer. I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it.
Yeah, man.
So again, thank you. Please order some Kava. Let's get this franchise going, man. That'll be, because this is gonna be one of those things. Like, I feel like, just like talking about a CBD or just like healthy stuff in general, like juicing and smoothies, for example, wasn't widespread like that when I was a kid. Like, it took forever. Like, it just took a while. And now some things you just expect to be in every city. And I feel like this is one of those things. I think it'd be great, especially how you present it too. I feel like you, like a bar or any kind of creative way that you can do it, I think would be really cool. So
yeah, man,
for sure. Everyone who's tuning in, thank you again for joining another episode of the Moonlighters Club. We'll be back with more guests. I think next year I'm gonna start looking at showcases. We used to do live showcases pre-COVID, but business owners would get on stage, or past guests would get on stage and basically just tell their story and be able to just kind of network. So I'm looking into that. So yeah, I'll keep you all posted on that. We're again, where we are, major podcast networks. Please, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you all for listening. And
thank you, man.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you all next time.